Chapter 6. The Journey from Platform 9 and 3 quarter. Harry's last month with the Dursleys wasn't fun. Dudley was now so scared of Harry he wouldn't stay in the same room, while Aunt Putania and Uncle Vernon didn't shut Harry in his cupboard, force him to do anything, or shout at him. In fact, they didn't speak to him at all. Half terrified, half furious, they acted as though any chair with Harry in it were empty. Although this was an improvement in many ways, it did become a bit depressing after a while. Harry kept to his room with his new owl for a company. He had decided to call her Hedwig, a name he had found in her history of magic. His school books were very interesting. He lay on his bed reading late into the night, Hedwig swooping in and out of the open window as she pleased. It was lucky that Aunt Tanya didn't come in to vacuum anymore, because Hedwig kept bringing back dead mice every night before he went to sleep. Harry off another day on the piece of paper he had pinned to the wall, counting down to September the 1st. On the last day of August, he thought he had better to speak to his aunt and uncle about getting to King's Cross station the next day. So he went down to living room where they were watching a quiz show on television. He cleared his throat to let them know he was there. And Dudley screamed and ran from the room. Uncle Vernon. Uncle Vernon grunted, sure he was listening. I need to be at King's Cross tomorrow to go to Hogwarts. Uncle Vernon grunted again. Wouldn't it be all right if you gave me a lift? Grunt. I suppose that means yes. Thank you. He was about to go back upstairs when Uncle Vernon actually spoke. Funny way to get to Wizard School. Train magic carpet all got punctured? Have they? Harry didn't say anything. Where is the school anyway? I don't know, said Harry. Realizing this for the first time, he pulled the ticket Hagrid had given him out of his pocket. I just take train from platform 9 and 3 quarters at 11 o'clock, he read. His aunt and uncle started. Platform what? 9 and 3 quarter. Don't talk rubbish, said Uncle Vernon. There is no platform 9 and 3 quarters on my ticket. Barking, said Uncle Vernon. Howling mad, a lot of them. You'll see, you just wait. All right, we'll take you to the King's Cross. We are going up to London tomorrow anyway. Or I wouldn't bother. Why are you going to London? Harry asked, trying to keep things friendly. Taking Dudley to the hospital, growled Uncle Vernon. Got to have that ruddy tail removed before he goes to Smeltings. Harry woke at 5 o'clock the next morning and was too excited and nervous to go back to sleep. He got up and pulled on his jeans because he didn't want to walk into the station in the wizard's robes. He had changed on the train. He checked his Hogwarts list yet again to make sure he had everything he needed. Saw that Hedwig was shut safely in her cage, and then paced the room waiting for the Dursleys to get up. 2 hours later, Harry's huge heavy trunk had been loaded to the Dursleys' car. Aunt Putania had talked Dudley into sitting next to Harry, and they had set off. They reached King's Cross at 10:30. Uncle Vernon dumped Harry's trunk onto a cart and wheeled it into the station for him. Harry thought this was strangely kind. Uncle Vernon stopped dead facing the platform with a nasty green face. Well, there you are, boy. Platform 9, platform 10. Your platform should be somewhere in the middle, but they don't seem to have built it yet, do they? He was quite right. Of course, there was a big plastic number 9 over one platform and big plastic number 10 over next platform. And middle nothing at all. Have a good time, said Uncle Vernon with an even nastier smile. He left without another word. Harry turned and saw the Dursleys drive away. All three of them were laughing. Harry's mouth went rather dry. What on earth was he going to do? He was starting to attract a lot of funny looks because of Hedwig. He had have to ask someone. He stopped a passing guard but didn't dare mention platform 9 and 3 quarter. Guard had never heard of Hogwarts, and when Harry couldn't tell him that part of the country it was in, he started to get annoyed as though Harry was being stupid on purpose. Getting desperate, Harry asked from the train that left at 11 o'clock, but the guard said there wasn't one. In the end of the guards strode away, muttering about time masters. Harry was now trying hard not to panic. According to the large clock over the arrival board, he had 10 minutes left to get onto the train to Hogwarts, and he had no idea how to go it. He was stranded in the middle of the station with a trunk he could hardly lift, a pocket full of wizard money, and a large owl. Hagrid must have forgotten to tell him something you had to do, like tapping the third brick on the left and get into Diagon Alley. He wondered if he should get out his wand and start tapping the inspectors and between platform 9 and 10. At that moment, a group of people passed just behind him, and he caught a few words of that they were saying, packed with muggles, of course. Harry swung round. The speaker was a plump woman who was talking to four boys, all with flaming red hair. Each of them was pushing a trunk like Harry in front of him, and they had an out, hard hammering. Harry pushed his cart after them. They stopped and so. Did he just near enough to hear what they saying? Now, what the platform number? Said boy's mother. 9 and 3 quarter. A small girl, also red-headed, who was holding her hand. Mom, can't I go? You're not old enough, Guinea. Now be quiet. All right, Percy, you go first. Looked like the oldest boy marched towards platform 9 and 10. Harry watched carefully not to blink in case he missed it. But just as the boy reached the dividing barrier between the two platforms, a large crowd of tourists came swarming in front of him, and by the time the last backpack had cleared away, the boy had vanished. Fred, you next, the plump woman said. I'm not Fred, I'm George, said the boy. Honestly, woman, you call yourself our mother. Care you tell I'm George. Sorry, George, dear. Only joking, I'm Fred, said the boy. And off he went. His twin called after him to hurry up, and he must have done so because a second later he had gone, but how had he done it? Now the third brother was talking briskly towards the barrier. He was almost there, and then quite suddenly he wasn't anywhere. There was nothing else for it. Excuse me, said Harry to the plump woman. Hello, dear, she said. First time at Hogwarts? Ron's new too. She pointed at the last and youngest of her sons. He was tall, thin, and gangling with freckles, big hand and feet, and a long nose. Yes, said Harry. The thing the thing is, I don't know how to get into the platform. He said kindly, and Harry nodded. Not to worry, he said. All you have to do is walk straight at the barrier between platform 9 and 10. Don't stop and don't be scared. You'll crash into that. That's very important. Best do it at a bit of run. If you are nervous, go on. Go now before run. Okay, said Harry. He pushed his trolley around and stared at the barrier. It looked very solid. He started to walk towards it. People joined him on their way to platform 9 and 10. Harry walked more quickly. He was going to smash right into that barrier, and then he'd be in trouble. Leaning forward on his cart, broken into a heavy run. The barrier was coming nearer and nearer. He wouldn't be able to stop. The cart was out of control. He was a foot away. He closed his eyes, ready for the crash. It didn't come. He kept on running. He opened his eyes. A scrattle steam engine was waiting next to the platform, packed with people. A sign over red said Hogwarts Express, 11 o'clock. Harry looked behind him and saw a wrought iron archway where the barrier had been, with a word platform 9 and 3/4 on it. He had done it. Smoke from the engine drifted over the heads of the chattering crowd, while cats of every color wound here and there between their legs. Owls hooted to one another in disgruntled sort of way over the babble and the scraping of heavy trunks. The first few carriages were already packed with students, some hanging out of the window to talk to their families, some fighting over a seat. Harry pushed his cart out down the platform in search of an empty seat. He passed a rounded faced boy who was saying, "Jan, I have lost my toad again." "Oh, Neville," he heard the women sighing. A boy with dreadlock was surrounded by a small crowd. "Give us a look. Lee, go on." The boy lifted the lid of a box in his arm, and the people around him shrieked and yelled as something inside poked out a long, hairy leg. Harry pressed on through the crowd until he found an empty compartment near the end of the train. He put Hedwig inside first and then started to show an heavy trunk towards the train door. He tried to lift it up the step but couldn't hardly raise one end, and twice he dropped it painfully on his foot. "Want a hand?" It was one of the red-haired twin he had followed though the barrier. "Yes, please," Harry panted. "Oi, Fred, come on and help." With the twin help, Harry's trunk was at last tucked away in a corner of the compartment. "Thanks," said Harry, pushing his sweaty hair out of his eyes. "What's that?" said one of the twins suddenly, pointing at Harry's lightning scar. "Blimey," said the other twin. "Are you?" "He is," said the first twin. "Aren't you?" he added to Harry. "What?" said Harry. "Harry Potter." "Yours, twin." "Oh, him," said Harry. "I mean, yes, I am." The two boys whacked at him, and Harry felt himself turning red. Then, to his relief, a voice came floating in through the train open door. "Fred, George, are you there?" "Coming, Mom." With a last look at Harry, the twin hopped off the train. Harry sat down next to the window where, half hidden, he could watch the red-haired family on the platform and hear what they were saying. Their mother had just taken out her handkerchief. "Ron, you have got something on your nose." The youngest boy tried to jerk out of the way, but she grabbed him and began rubbing the end of his nose. "Mom, get off." He wriggled free. "Has Eagle Ronnie got something on his nose?" said one of the twins. "Shut up," said Ron. "Where's Buzz?" said their mother. "He's coming now." The oldest boy came standing into sight. He had already changed into his belonging black Hogwarts robe, and Harry noticed a shiny silver badge on his chest with the letter P on it. "Pants stay long, Mother," he said. "I'm a front. The perfect have got two compartments to themselves." "Oh, are you a perfect, Percy?" said one of the twins, with an air of great surprise. "You should have said something. We had no idea." "Hang on, I think I remember him saying something about it," said the other twin. "Once or twice. A minute, all summer." "Oh, shut up," said Percy the Perfect. "How come Percy get new robes?" "Anyway," said one of the twins. "'Cause he is perfect," said their mother fondly. "All right, dear. Well, have a good term. Send me an owl when you go get there." She kissed Percy on the cheek and she left. Then she turned to the twin. "Now you two. This year you behave yourself. If I get one more owl telling me you have blown up a toilet or blown up a toilet. We have never blown up a toilet. Great idea though. Thanks, Mom. It's not funny. And look after Ron. Don't worry. Uncle Ronish is safe with us." "Shut up," said Ron again. He was almost as tall as twins already, and his nose was still pink where his mother had dropped it. Hey, Mom, guess what? Guess who we just met on the train? Harry looked back quickly on the way, couldn't see him looking. You know, that black hair boy who was near us in the station? Know who he is? Who? Harry Potter. Harry heard the little girl's voice. Oh, Mom, can I go on the train and see him? Mom, yeah, please. You have already seen him, Guinea. And the poor boy isn't something you Google at in zoo. He is really? Fred, how do you know? Ask him. Saw his car. It's really there. Like lightning. Oh dear. No wonder he was alone. I wonder he was ever so polite when he asked how to get into the platform. Never mind that. Do you think he remember of you know what who looks like? Their mother suddenly become very stern. I forbid you to ask him. Fred, no. Oh you dear. As would he need reminding all day the first day of school. Alright, keep your hair on or whistle around. Hurry up, their mother said, and the three boys clambered onto the train. They leaned out of the window for her to kiss them goodbye, and their youngest sister began to cry. Don't, Kinney, we'll send you lots of love. We'll send you a Hogwarts art toilet seat. George, only joking. Mom, the train began to move. Harry saw the boy's mother waving and their sister half laughing and half crying, running to keep up with the train until it gathered too much speed. When she fell back and waved, Harry watched the girl and her mother disappear. As the train rounded the corner, house flashed past the window. Harry felt a great leap of excitement. He don't know what he was going to do, but it had to be better than what he was leaving behind. The door of the compartment slid open and the youngest red-headed boy coming. Anyway, sitting there, he asked, pointing at the seat opposite to Harry. Everywhere else is full. Harry shook his head and the boy sat down. He glanced at Harry and then looked quickly out of the window. Pretending he hadn't looked, Harry saw he still had black mark on his nose. Hey Ron, the twin were back. Listen, we are going down the middle of the train. Lee Jordan's got a giant Tarnatals down there. Right, mumbled Ron. Harry, said the other twin. Did we introduce ourselves? Fred and George, Wesley, and this is Ron, our brother. See you later then. Bye, said Harry and Ron. The twins slid the compartment door shut behind them. Are you really Harry Potter? Ron got out. Harry nodded. Oh well, I thought it might be one of Fred and George's joke, said Ron. And have you really got, you know? He pointed at Harry's forehead. Harry pulled back his bang, showed the lightning scar. Ron stared. So that's where you know who? Yes, said Harry, but I can't remember it. Nothing, said Ron eagerly. Well, I remember a lot of green light, but nothing else. Wow, said Ron. He sat and stared at Harry for a few moments, then, as though he had suddenly realized that he was doing, he looked quickly out of the window again. Are you all your family wizards? Asked Harry, who found Ron just as interesting as Ron found him. Yeah, yes, I think so, said Ron. I think Mom's got a second cousin who's an accountant, but we have never talked about him. So you must know loads of magic already. The Weasleys were clearly one of those old wizard families pale boy in Diagon Alley had thought about. I heard you want to live with muggles, said Ron. What are they like? Horrible. Well, not all of them. My aunt and uncle and cousin are though. Wish I had had three wizards, brother. Why, you, said Ron. For some reason, he was looking gloomy. I'm the sixth in our family to go to Hogwarts. You could say I have got a lot of life work. Bill and Charlie have already left. Bill was head boy and Charlie was captain of which now Percy, a perfect, Fred and George mess around a lot. They still get a really good marks and everyone thinks they are really funny. Everyone expects me to do as well as others. But if I do, it's not a big deal because they did it first. You never get anything new either with are you brothers. I have got Bill's old robes, Charlie's old wand, and Percy's old rat. Ron reached inside his jacket and pulled out fat grey rat, which was asleep. His name is Gabler, and he is useless. He hardly even wake up. Percy got an owl from my dad for being made a perfect, but they couldn't. I got scabbers instead. Ron's ear went pink. He seemed to think he had said too much because he went back to staring out of the window. Harry didn't think there was anything wrong with not being able to afford an owl. After all, he had never had any money in his life until a month ago, and he told Ron so all about having to wear Dudley's old clothes and never getting proper birthday present. This seemed to cheer Ron up. And until Hagrid told me, I didn't know anything about being a wizard or about my parents or Voldemort. Ron gasped. What? Said Harry. You said you know whose name? Said Ron, sounding both shocked and impressed. I had never thought you of all people. I'm not trying to be brave or anything saying the name, said Harry. I just never knew you shouldn't. See what I mean? I have got loud to learn. I bet, he added, voicing for the first time something that had been worrying him a lot lately. I bet I'm the worst in the class. You won't be. There is lots of people who came from Muggles family and they learn quick enough. Well, they had been telling the train had cried them out of the London. Now they were spending past field full of cows and sheep. They were quiet for a time watching the fields and lanes flick past. Around 12:30 there was a great clattering outside in the corridor and smiling dimple woman slid back their door and said, anything of the cart, dears? Harry, who hadn't had any breakfast, leapt to his feet, but Ron's ear went pink again and he muttered that his brother he brought sandwich. Harry went out into the corridor. He had never had any money for candy with Dursleys, and now that he had pocket ratting with gold and silvers, he was ready to buy as many bars as he could carry. But the women didn't have Mars bars. The what she did have were Betty Botty, free flavor beans, Drobble bead blowing gum, chocolate frog, pumpkin pasties, Voltron cake, licorice wands, and a number of other strange things Harry had never seen in his life. Not waiting to miss anything, he got some of everything and paid the women 11 silver sickle and 11 bronze nuts. Ron stared as Harry brought it all back into the compartment and tripped it onto the empty seat. Hungry, are you? Starving, said Harry, taking a large bite out of a pumpkin pasty. Ron had taken out lumpy package and unwrapped it. There were 4 sandwiches inside. He pulled one of them apart and said, he always forgot. I don't like corned beef. Swamped you for one of these, said Harry, holding up a pasty. Go on, said don't want this. It's all right, said Ron. He hasn't got much time, he added quickly. You know, with 5 of us. Go on, have a pasty, said Harry, who had never had anything to share before or indeed anyone to share it with. It was a nice feeling sitting there with Ron, eating their way through all Harry's pasties, cakes, and candies. The sandwich life forgot. What are these? Harry asked Ron, holding up a pack of chocolate frogs. They are not real frogs, are they? He was starting to feel that nothing would surprise him. No, said Ron. But see what the card is. I'm missing Agrippa. What? Oh, of course, you wouldn't know. Chocolate frog have cards. inside them, to collect famous witches and wizards. I have got about 500, but I haven't got Agrippa or Ptolemy. Harry unwrapped his chocolate frog and picked up the card. It shows a man's face. He wore half moon glasses and a long crooked nose and flowing silver hair, beard, and mustache. Underneath the picture was named Albus Dumbledore. So this is Dumbledore, said Harry. Don't tell me you never heard of Dumbledore, said Ron. Can I have a frog? I might get Agrippa. Thanks. Harry turned over his card and read Albus Dumbledore, currently headmaster of Hogwarts, considered by many the great wizard of modern times. Dumbledore is particularly famous for his defeat of Dark Wizard Grindelwald in 1945, for the discovery of 12 use of dragon's blood, and his work on alchemy with his partner Nicholas Flamel. Professor Dumbledore enjoyed chamber music and telephone blowing. He turned the card over and saw. To his astonishment, Dumbledore's face had disappeared. Well, you can't expect him to hang around all day, said Ron. He'll be back. No, I have got Morgana again, and I have got about six of her. Do you want it? You can start collecting. Ron's eyes strayed to the pile of chocolates from waiting to be unwrapped. Help yourself, said Harry. But in you, no, the muggles what people just don't put in photos. Do they? What they don't move at all. Ron sounded amazed, weird. Harry stared at Dumbledore sliding back into the picture on his card and gave him a small smile. Ron was more interested in eating the frogs than looking at famous witches and wizards' cards, but Harry couldn't keep his eyes off them. Soon he had not only Dumbledore and Morgana, but Hagrid of Woodcraft, Albrecht Gruneau, Cyrus, Arcelus, and Merlin. He finally tore his eyes away from the grotesque Glinda, who was scratching her nose to open a bag of Bertie boards, every flavor's bean. You want to be careful with nose, Ron warned Harry. When they say every flavor, they mean every flavor. You get all the ordinary ones like chocolate and peppermint and malts, but then you can get spinach and liver and trip. George reckoned he had a booger flavored one once. Ron picked up a green beans, looked at it carefully, and bite it a corner. Plitter, see, sprouts. They had a good time eating the every flavor beans. Harry got toast, coconut, baked beans, strawberry, curry, grass, coffee, sardine, and was every brave enough to middle the end of the funny grey one Ron wouldn't touch, which turned out to be paper. The countryside now flying past the window was becoming wilder. The native fields had gone. Now there were woods, twisting rivers, and dark green hills. There was a knock on the door of their compartment, and the round-faced boy Harry had passed on platform 9 3/4 came in. He looked carefully. Sorry, he said, but have you seen a toad at all? When they shook their head, they wailed, I have lost him. He keeps get things away from me. He'll turn up, said Harry. Yes, said the boys miserably. Well, if you see him, he left. Don't know why he is so bothered, said Ronnie. If I had brought a toad, I'd lose it as quick as I could, mind you. I brought Scabbers so I can't talk. The rat was still snoozing on Ron's lap. He might have died, and you wouldn't know the difference, said Ron in disgust. I tried to turn him yellow yesterday to make him more interesting, but the spell didn't work. I'll show you. Look, he drummed around his trunk and pulled out a very battered looking wand. It was tipped in place, and something white was glinted at the end. Unicorn ears nearly poking out. Anyway, he had just raised his wand when his compartment door slid open again. The toddler's boy was back, but this time he had a girl with him. She was already wearing her new Hogwarts robe. Has anyone seen a toad? Neville's lost one, she said. She had a bossy sort of voice, lots of bushy brown hairs, and rather a large front teeth. We have already told him we haven't seen, said Ron. Girl wasn't listening. She was looking at the wand in his hand. Oh, are you doing magic? Let's see it then. He sat down. Ron looked taken back. Alright. He cleared his throat. Sunshine, daisies, buttermellow. Turn this stupid fat rat yellow. He waved his wand, but nothing happened. Scrabble stayed grey and fast asleep. Are you sure that's the real spell? Said the girl. Well, it's not very good, is it? I have tried a few simple spells just for practice and it's all worked for me. Nobody in my family is magic at all. It was very such a surprise when I got my letter, but I was so pleased, of course. I mean, it's a very best school of witchcraft there is. I have heard, I have learned all our course book by heart, of course. I just stop, hope it will be enough. I'm Hermione Granger. By the way, who are you? He said all this very fast. Harry looked at Ron and was relieved to see by his stunned face that hadn't learned all the course book by heart either. Ron Wolseley, Ron muttered. Harry Potter, said Harry. Are you really? Said Hermione. I know all about you, of course. I got a few extra books for background reading, and you are in modern magical history and the rise and fall of dark art and great wizarding events of the 12th ninth century. Am I? Said Harry, feeling dizzy. Goodness, didn't you know I had have found out everything I could if it was me, said Hermione. Do either of you know what house you'll be in? I have been asking around and I hope I'm in Gryffindor. It sounds by far the best. I hear Dumbledore himself was in it. But I suppose Ravenclaw wouldn't be too bad. Anyway, we had better go and look for Neville's toad. You two had better change. You know, I expect we'll be there soon. As she left, talking the toddler's boy with her. Whatever house I'm in, I hope she is not in it, said Ron. She threw his wand back into his trunk. Stupid spell. George gave it to me. Bet he knew it was this dude. What house are you brother in? Asked Harry. Gryffindor, said Ron, gloom seeming to be settling on him again. Mom and Dad were in too. I don't know what they'll say if I'm not. I don't suppose Ravenclaw will be too bad, but imagine if they put me in Slytherin. That's the house. Well, I mean, you know who wasn't. Yes, said Ron. He flopped back into his seat, looking depressed. You know, I think the end of Scabbers' whiskers are a bit lighter, said Harry, trying to take Ron's mind off house. So, what do your oldest brother do now that they have left anyway? Harry was wondering that a wizard didn't once he had finished. Charlie is in Romania studying dragons, and Bill's in Africa doing something in Grimknots. Said Ron. Did you hear about Grimknots? It's been all over the Daily Prophet, but I don't suppose you get that with the muggles. Someone tried to rob a high security vault. Harry stared. Really? What happened to them? Nothing. That's why it's such a big news. They haven't been. But they don't think they took anything, that's what odd. Of course, everyone gets scared when something like this happens in case you know who is behind it. Harry turned this news over in his mind. He was started to get pickle of fear every time you know who was mentioned. He supposed this was all a part of entering in the magical world, but it had been a lot more comfortably saying Voldemort without worrying. What's your witch name? Ron asked. I don't know any, Harry confessed. What? Ron looked dumbfounded. Oh, you wait. It's the best game in the world. And he was off, explaining all about the four walls and the position of the seven players, describing famous games he had been to with his brothers and the boomsticks he had liked to get if he had the money. He was just talking Harry through the finer points of the game when the compartment door slides open yet again. But it wasn't Neville, the toadless boy, or Harmony Gregor this time. Three boys entered and Harry recognized the middle one at once. It was a playboy from Madame Malkin's robe shop. He was looking at Harry with a lot more interesting than he had shown back in Diagon Alley. Is it true? He said. They are saying all down the train and that Harry Potter's in this compartment. So it's you, is it? Yes, said Harry. He was looking at the other boys. Both of them were thick set and looked extremely mean. Standing on either side of the pale boy, they looked like bodyguard. Oh, this is Crab and this is Goyle, said the pale boy carelessly. Nothing where Harry was looking at my name's Malfoy, Draco Malfoy. Ron gave a slight cough, which might have been hiding a snake. Draco Malfoy looked at him. Thinks my name is funny, do you? No need to ask who you are. My father told me all the Wesleys have red hair, freckles, and more children than they can afford. He turned back to Harry. You'll soon find out some Wizardian families are much better than ours. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you here. He held out his hand to shake Harry's, but Harry didn't take it. I think I can tell you who's the wrong sort are for myself, thanks, he said coolly. Draco Malfoy didn't go red, but a pink tie appeared in his pale cheek. I had to be careful if I were you, Potter, he said slowly. Unless you are a bit politer, you'll go the same way as your parents. They didn't know what was good for them either. You hang around with Triffer like Wesley and that Hagrid, it will rub off you. Both Harry and Ron stood up. Say that again. Ron said his face was red as his hair. Oh, you are going to fight us? Are you? Malfoy sneered. Unless you get out now, said Harry, more bravely than he felt, because Crab and Golly were a lot bigger than him or Ron. But we are don't feel like living, do we, boys? We are eating all our foods and you still seem to have some. Girl reached towards the chocolate frog next to Ron. Ron leaped forward, but before he had much as touched Goyle, Goyle let out a horrible yell. Scrabble! The cat was hanging off his finger, sharp little teeth stuck deep into Goyle's knuckle. Crab and Malfoy backed away as Goyle's mug scrabbled round and round. Howling, and when Scrabbers finally flew off and hit the window, all three of them disappeared at once. Perhaps they thought there were more rats laughing among the sweets, or perhaps they had heard footsteps because a second later Hermione Granger had come in. What has been going on? She said, looking at the sweets all over the floor and Ron picking up Scrabble by his tail. I think he's been knocking out. Ron said to Harry. He looked closer at Scrabble. No, I don't believe it. He's gone back to sleep. And so he had. You have met Malfoy before? Harry explained about their meeting in Diagon Alley. I have heard of his family, said Ron darkly. They were some of the first come to be to our side after you know who disappeared. Said they had been bewitched. My dad doesn't believe it. He says Malfoy's father didn't need to excuse to go over the dark side. He turned to Hermione. Can we help you with something? You had better hurry up and put your robes on. I have just been up to the front to ask the conductor, and he says we are nearly there. You haven't been fighting, have you? You'll be in trouble before we even got there. Crabber has been fighting, not us, said Ron, scowling at her. Would you mind leaving while we change? Alright, I only came here because people outside are behaving very childishly. Racing up and down the corridor, said Hermione in a sniffy voice. And you have got dirt on your nose, by the way, didn't you know? Ron glared at her and she left. Harry peered out the window. It was getting dark. He could see mountains and forest under a deep purple sky. The train didn't seem to be slowing down. He said Ron took off their jacket and pulled on their long black robes. Ron were a bit short for him. You could be seen him sneaking underneath them. A voice echoed through the train. We will be reaching Hogwarts in 5 minutes' time. Please leave your luggage on the train. It will be taken to school separately. Harry's stomach lurched with nerves and Ron, he saw, looked pale under his freckle. They crammed their pockets with the last of the sweets and joined crowd through the corridor. The train slowed right down and finally stopped. People pushed their way through towards the door and out onto a tiny dark platform. Harry shivered in the cold night air. Then a lamp came bobbing over the head of the student, and Harry heard a familiar voice. First year, so here. All right, dear Harry. Hagrid's big hairy face beamed over the sea of heads. Come on, follow me. Any more first year? Mind your steps now. First year, follow me. Slipping and stumbling, they followed Hagrid down what seemed to a steep, narrow path. It was so dark on either side of them that Harry thought there must be thick tree there. Nobody spoke much. Neville, the boy who kept losing his toad, sniffed once or twice. Yeah, I'll get your first sight Hogwarts in the second, Hagrid called over. He shouldered just round this bend there. There was a loud oh. The narrow path had opened suddenly onto the edge of the great black taken, perched atop a high mountain on the other side. Its windows sparklingly in the starry sky was a vast castle with many turrets and towers. No more for two about. Hagrid called, pointing to a fleet of little boats sitting in the water by the shore. Harry and Ron were followed into their boats by Neville and Hermione. Everyone in shouted Hagrid, who had a boat to himself, right then forward, and then fleet of little boats moved off all at once, glided across the lake, which was as smooth as glass. Everyone was silent, staring up at the great castle overhead. It towered over them as they sailed nearer and nearer to cliff on which it stood. Head down, yelled Hagrid. At first boat reached at cliff, they all bent their heads, and little boats carried them through a curtain of ivy that hid a wide opening in the cliff face. They were carried along a dark tunnel which seemed to be taking them right underneath the castle until they reached a kind of underground harbor where they clambered onto rock and pebble. Oh, you are there. Is this your toad? Said Hagrid, who was checking the boats as people climbed out of them. Trevor, cried Neville blissfully, holding out his hand. Then they clambered up as passway in the rock after Hagrid's lamp, coming out at last onto smooth damp glass right in the shadow of the castle. They walked up a flight of stone steps and crowded around a huge work front door. Everyone here, you, yes, still got your toad. Hagrid raised a gigantic first and knocked 3 times on the castle door. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for next chapter. Stay tuned. Bye bye.